Hello everyone, I'm Black Marvin. I'm a progressive psychedelic trance artist, a professional sound designer, and I'm also a teacher for electronic music production. Today it's time for another
Battle of the Synths.
Actually, it's not really a battle. It's more a comparison. And personally, these three synths they have a place in my heart and they have a place in my toolbox. I chose them because I use them, but it's kind of nice to say.
Battle of the Synths.
So that's why I'm gonna say.
Battle of the Synths.
But in any case, these three synths, I use them. It's not necessarily a case of like the one you should pick. I think if you have the budget, you should pick all these three. But it all depends and all comes down to you as a user, what you are looking for. But I would recommend these three. And I made a preset pack, well, more than one preset pack for two of them. And I'm working on a preset pack for the third one. So they're going to be all covered on the Fractal Sounds website. Links to the preset packs I made are in the description, so don't forget to check that out. So I'm gonna call this tier 2. If you want to look at like the tier 1 comparison video, the link is in the description. I made a video comparing Pigments, Faceplant, Vital, and Serum, which in my opinion is considered it's my top tier. It's not even like I'm not gonna say like, hey everybody, this and those synths are the tier 1. I'm just saying for me and the stuff I like to create, this is my tier 1, and today this is my tier 2. I'm going to explain you what's in my mind making these synths a tier 2 and not a tier 1. For me, tier 1 is, well, all these tier 1 synths, you can do a lot of things and multi-use. For example, Faceplant, because of the depth of modulations, the LFO, the oscillator, you have sampler, granular, you have just a lot of tweakability, and that makes it tier 1 for me. It's like a synth that you can do almost everything, right? This tier 2 of synth is it's more specialized to something. Those are really recreating the very synthetic sounds, the very like the synths. It's very like those are synths, you know. Yeah, that's what makes it tier 2, and you don't have as much flexibility with the LFOs. You know, you don't. It's not like a draw. Those are not like the curved. It's a bit more. It's a bit more basic and oriented into something specific. That's why it makes it tier 2 synths. But these are still synths that I use a lot, especially when I want to like lay down a specific like a synth line. You know, those sounds that we call synth line. I just want to I want that ARP that is going to grow and is going to be have a lot of energy. I think all the sequencers and arpeggiators in these synths, they are great. So that's kind of how I would describe tier 2. Now, just a little note about this video. If you're new on the channel, I don't do short videos, not because I don't want to, I just seem to not be able to. And the first video of this series, you know, the sort of tier 1 that I did, I really like let loose into just talking about these synths, and apparently it was very appreciated. So I'm going with the same energy for this video, but it's gonna be a long one. But yeah, it seems that every time I try to do like short video or more straight to the point, I end up taking even more time, which is not super cool. So in any case, welcome to the channel if you're new, and if you're on a hurry or anyway, just don't hesitate to skip the sections. I'm gonna identify clearly what sections talk about what, and you can watch them to your convenience. Also a side note, a perspective from this video. This is, you're gonna hear me talk about feelings a lot. If you're into like very factual mathematical comparison, like this one has like a range of 2 octaves on the sequencer, wow, this one has a range of 2, but also has like the up down played randomly options. This is not the stuff that's going to go down in this video. I'm going to talk about how I feel about these synths, because I've spent a lot of time professionally in these synths. Feeling comes into play because you work with them. It's like how good and how easy it is to get good creative results out of these synths. And so the stuff that's positive about it and the challenges that I encounter. So this is telling a lot about the synths, in my opinion, as well. And this is the angle I had for the first video. This is the angle I'm gonna have for this video too. So before we dive in, if you like that kind of content, if you want to learn more about sound design, synthesis, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to stay at the end. I'm going to mention 2 synths that like honorable mention that didn't make the cut. And I'm going to tell you why they didn't make the cut. Now, let's dive into Battle of the Synths Tier 2. Okay, so we're going to start with one of my favorite little gems, and this is DS Thorn. DS Thorn it's a great synth. We're gonna start with the positive, and then we're gonna do the negative. And I'm gonna follow pretty much that format for all the synths. But you see, sometimes there's like a call and response, and there might be some back and forth. But basically, this is the structure I'm gonna use. So DS Thorn, like I said, it's a very unique synth. That's a very positive thing about DS Thorn. Like, it's genuinely unique. What makes it unique is the ability to work on a spectral level, on a spectral synthesis in this synth. If you can make like the editor, it's not a wavetable editor, by the way. That would be a negative for me, like there's no wavetable interaction with it. For me, that has to be a negative. But there's still some ways that you can edit the oscillator source, and you can create some shapes. But this is on a spectral level, so it's kind of a negative, but also very positive. But what would be crazy is to like drag and drop some wavetables, and then being able to affect them with the Thorn editor on a spectral level. That would be really crazy. Nonetheless, this is a very unique synth. It has, because of the spectral nature of the synthesis inside the Thorn, it has like a very glassy, bellish, crystalline tendencies that is so cool. There's literally some sounds that are very hard to recreate in other synths, and this is also due to another really cool feature I like about the Thorn, and it has to be the harmonic filter. So this is a type of filter that, once again, works on a spectral level. It works on a different yes, it's called a filter, but especially if you're a beginner, don't be fooled necessarily, because all the filters are like high pass, low pass, and all that stuff. But this is an harmonic filter. It works on a spectral level, so it's really unique. And this is another way to interact on a spectral level with synthesis inside DS Thorn. One thing I want to say about the arpeggiator inside DS Thorn, I can't really explain why. And for example, like the inside Pigments, it's like the arpeggiator inside Pigments on paper, like in theory, is there's many cool features, but I don't know, I feel almost easier to get some nice, yes, like the Thorn doesn't have like I don't think you can work with scale. I'm doing this by memory, but like there's not like all those fancy features that the Pigment sequencer have, but I'm always getting some really cool, really driving, nice sequence inside the sequencer of DS Thorn. And it actually shows a lot in the synesthesia for DS Thorn preset pack. I'm really proud. There's some really slick sequences in there. And it's always fun to work with the Thorn sequencer. Another super positive thing is the glitch sequencer. If you don't know what this is, it's a different sequencer inside the Thorn, and you can randomize, or you can sequence them yourself, but there's some really cool random features there, and you're gonna randomize some glitch pattern, and you can introduce that into the sound, either like post effects or post or pre effects. And this is somewhat going to change the sound reaction, but this, you can generate some grids, you can generate some pretty easily glitchy sounds with the glitch sequencer inside the Thorn. So one thing I like is the layout is very easy to use. And it's probably one of the easiest to use in between these three synths that we are covering today. It might look intimidating, but it's really not that much. It's like there's just a good balance of features, and it doesn't result into like an overclogged interface. Now for the negative about DS Thorn, there's no macros. And also, I'm gonna sort of tie this to another concept, and it is that there is no meaningful update that has been released recently, and it doesn't feel like there's going to. Honestly, I would be really surprised that there would be an update for this synth. And sadly, if you've watched the first video, it's a big deal, I think, for me. If you compare synths, if you want to choose one and buy one, like, how much is it still supported, and is it an evolving project, or it's pretty much done? But I would say, yeah, all these three synths, they don't feel like I would say big projects that keep evolving, like Faceplant is, for example. But for sure, DS Thorn looks pretty like this is what it is. Like, DS Thorn is not going to be something else. I think I would be crazy to, like, I would go crazy if I would learn that they are making a DS Thorn 2. Please make a DS Thorn 2. So yeah, but this is kind of linked to the macro thing that I was saying, because that would just be nice to, like, eventually have an update with some macros, and I think there's some stuff in there that I'm going to say about the negative that are not so hard to fix with updates, but I'd be surprised that it would happen. So yeah, no macros, no wavetable support. There's also a thing, okay? DS Thorn, like I said, it is unique. It has a very cool glassy sound, but the thing is, because I don't know if it's the spectral synthesis nature or it's just like how it's made, but it is and can be a very harsh synth. This is something I learned, like, while working professionally inside the Thorn, like trying to format, well, not just trying, but formatting presets for like preset packs. And the thing is, like, in synthesis, you're trying to create reactions. You're trying to create some really cool stuff happening, but when you're doing this, you can create some resonant behavior. The sound, you're kind of tweaking and pushing the sound, and you need to have the possibility to EQ this back and tame this. It's, if you're doing a crazy filter suite, you're using the harmonic filter, you're doing something insane, it's gonna sound nice, but you need to have the ability to pull this back and contain this with either EQ or compressor. Yes, but you cannot fix all this with a compressor, really not. Not even sometimes a multi-band compressor. But yeah, all this to say that DS Thorn, when it comes to EQ, it is horribly limited to the EQing possibilities inside DS Thorn. And sadly, the synth has a very dirty and harsh nature, which is kind of a plus, but it's also because it doesn't have, like, necessarily the abilities to tame this back into something respectable. It kind of makes it hard to work, I'd say. Yeah, so it's not necessarily super beginner friendly because of that, I think. But if you're an intermediate producer, I think you can have fun and good results with DS-Star. And also, it's one of those synths that, and even for me as sound designer, like I created my presets, but it's like a synth that I like to just like pull out the like a bank of preset and get some of these outs, and just it's gonna make some good lead lines that are ready to use and very efficient. Yeah, another negative point is the distortions are harsh. It's kind of a push on the previous point, but the range of distortion really feels like it's going from non-distorted to like dirty and problematic, almost too quick. Not a huge range of distortion. It's kind of missing in one of those distortions that can be just flavory. There's none of that inside the Thorn. And finally, the mod matrix, not super cool to work with. It's pretty yeah, it's kind of like it feels really like 2012 2015-ish quality level in some ways. It's just the thing that these days I've seen some mod matrix that are much more fun to work with and efficient. But it also ties back to the kind of like the fact that the synth is not updated. I think that could be, there could be some not so complicated upgrades. I say that on top of my head because although I like to program presets, I'm not, I've never programmed the synth, but yeah, from the top of my head, I think there could be some not so hard fixes to do to the mod matrix, some improvements. And yeah, that's pretty much the negative about DS-Torn. But it balances out sometimes with some positive. Overall, the final words about DS-Torn, this is still one of my, like I said when presenting this synth, this is one of my favorite gems, kind of hidden gems. And sometimes I want to have like from top of my hand, like real quick, I'm creating a track and I want to have a special sound, a weird, glassy, special crystal sound, just something out of the ordinary. DS-Torn is going to be for sure. I'm just going to pull out DS-Torn and I know there's going to be something odd. And you can make also some odd sequences. You just pull out, like I said, the arpeggiator sequencer, then you start building around that. There's definitely some Black Marvin tracks, possibly some solar punk tracks that has like a driving lead line that is an instance of DS-Torn. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing. Spire. I have lots of things to say, and the thing with Spire is it's a good synth. It's still it feels similar to DS-Torn to me in the sense that it's a synth that I'm gonna use to bring some heavy lead lines and acid lines. Actually, I would say from these three, the best synth to create some high energy, modern sounding acid lines, it is Spire. Now, it's not been updated recently. There's been an update, but it was not a super substantial update. There was like a new reverb and, I don't even remember some of these things, but those were all sadly two minor things for, a synth that has been there for a while. So I don't know what is the plan for Reveal Sound. Are they working on a Spire 2, or, they could be just surfing the success of Spire, because this is a synth that had lots of success, and so but I think it's still successful. One very positive that I'm gonna link here is the Reveal Sound store. I don't know if you've ever been to the Reveal Sound store. Some of the Fractal Sounds presets are there. Well, some of them, not all the collection, but there's a part of the collection of the Fractal Sounds presets that are present on the Reveal Sound store. And I think it's one big plus for Spire. There's not just presets for Spire, there's a lot of other stuff, some samples, but there's a lot of resources. And if you've watched the first video, I talked a lot about how these synths have also available resources or not. It's something to take in account. Like if you're going to buy a synth and you're not a super advanced sound designer, or you're not necessarily into like creating everything yourself, which is understandable because it is time consuming. And even like I like to work with presets sometimes. Sometimes I pull out my own presets, but you're not always in the mood to like create everything from scratch. So whenever you're getting a new synth, it's kind of something to consider, like how many resources for that synth are out there currently. And speaking of this, like we're gonna just for a moment go ahead of ourselves and talk about quickly and briefly Dune3. But Dune3, it's a great synth, but it's not a synth that has a lot of resources, from what I understand and see. Probably from these three synths, definitely. Well, Thorn doesn't have much, but it feels like Dune3 have less resources available. But in there's a lot of factory presets actually for Dune3, and they are really strong. But in the aftermarket, it doesn't feel like there's much. While Spire, for example, there's like I said, the Reveal Sound Store. There's just a lot of resources out there. Fractal Sounds, we have one preset pack for Spire. We could make more, but do you want more presets? Let us know in the comment if you guys need more Spire presets. Now in the positive, Spire has a rich analog sound. It sounds thick right off the start. The filters are really cool. Spire has like a plasticky sounds that reminds me of the Virus actually, and I do own one, so it's really like it genuinely reminds me sometimes of the Virus, that those plasticky tones and the way that the filters behave. And I think there's even a non-officially, there's a filter that really resemble, like I think, yeah, so I just checked. I think it's the Infecto filter, if you read in between the lines, infection. So yeah, and really cool filter collection. And filters, they really play a strong role in the whole sound design process. And as it's been discussed many times on this channel, but like the acid recipe, if you want to do some sick acid lines, the quality of the filter and the algorithm from the distortion you're going to run is going to change drastically how the acid line is going to sound. And everything inside Spire will give you nice acid line. I'm not even exaggerating. Like you can just pull out a saw wave or any other fancy waveform there is and just start cranking up filter, distortion, resonance, then boom, you place that into, you run the sequencer through that, like a nice arpeggiator or nice arpeggiated sequence, and you're gonna get a high energy synth line for sure. Another positive, macros, but you can't rename them. So that's like, it's kind of positive, but at the same time, Dune3 doesn't have any macros and it should, and Thorn doesn't have any macros and it should. So it's positive for sure. Now, some negative. We talked about the fact that there's not has been any substantial update for Spire. Also, the interface for Spire it's not super intuitive. Like, and it took a long time. And like, I'm doing this for a living, and whenever I wanted to really dive deep into Spire, the learning curve I just felt was like too long. It took a long time for not some good reasons. Like it's just you're working hard to find stuff that shouldn't be so hard to find. Like for example, like the layout for the oscillators. I don't know, man. It's hard to explain, but sometimes like you live it. It's a tool you work with, and it doesn't connect. And like the Control A, Control B, I just find like it's not optimal. Also keep in mind, I talk a lot about feelings, and the reason why is I'm basing these impressions and these reviews on stuff I've lived. While working on presets, while working with these synths. It's not necessarily, if you're into like the factual stuff like side-by-side comparison, that's not it really. So that's why I talk a lot about feelings, because ultimately that's how these synth feels when you're working with them. One last negative is that the EQing possibilities inside Spire are very, very limited. And I've said it for DS Thorn, but it's the same thing in synthesis. You're trying to get crazy reaction, make the synth scream, but it's like it's a push and pull technique. So you're gonna try to push with distortions, create reactions, but you need to be able to pull these frequencies back, or just pull it back to a normal state. Of course, this can all be done with EQ afterwards. And there's some really good modern tools about for managing resonance, like Acoustica Dove, Suit 2, Baby Audio, Smooth Operator. But still, we're talking about stuff inside the synth. Very, very limited possibilities when it comes to EQing and de-arching the sound inside Spire. So Dune3. Right off the bat, this is something I want to say about Dune3. This is the synth I spend the less amount of time working with. I'm currently working a preset pack for Dune3, so stay tuned. But I've used a lot of factory presets of Dune3, and I have a lot of melodic techno and trance influence in my music, and sometimes I just need those thick, epic leads, and Dune3 has that. From these three synths, it's definitely the richest analog sound there is. This is rich analog sound. This is something I said for Spire, but this is beyond Spire, definitely beyond Spire, definitely, and beyond DS Thorn. And man, the filters, they sound creamy, they sound rich, they sound fat, they sound real. I don't know why, I don't know what it is that makes it that way, but the unison modes, they sound great. So this is just a great sounding synth, really. And also the saturations, it's something that I was sort of critiquing on the other synths. But Spire is okay for that. But like when I was talking about the range of distortion for DS Thorn, that it's either unsaturated or harsh almost. But it's really not the case inside Dune3. There's a good variety of distortions, and all of them, they sound like they have a lot of range, and you can go from just pushing a bit, targeted saturation, to just like blatant burn on the sound. So what's really cool about Dune is, from these three synths, this is the one that supports wavetable. The thing though, it's kind of a negative, but the way the wavetable editor is really so. The wavetable compatibility, it's like of almost all the wavetable compatible synths I know and own, this is the only one that it's not like drag and drop, or it's not as easy to integrate. I own Faceplant, Pigments, Serum, Vital, Anna 2. I don't own Hive, but I even tried like the wavetables inside Hive, and it's all like fairly plug and play, but not inside Dune. You have to like import it and then tweak, and then after that you can export it in like a format for Dune. But so that's kind of a plus, the fact that it supports wavetable, but the way it supports them, like I think there's some compatibility There's some compatibility improvement to be made there, but I'd still consider that as a plus. So for the positive, I really just want to re-mention I had the note of filters, just super great sounding filters. And like I've mentioned for Spire, but they are, in my opinion, superior to Spire. Yeah, it's nice to have quality filters. One super cool thing is that for the arpeggiator, first there's like two harps. Not sure why I would need two harps. Though that's kind of something. Okay, something negative inside Dune is like I feel there's a complexity But for me, like the multiple arbs, the multiple voicing, the way I use it, it's not necessarily a big plus because I don't feel like I benefit a lot from that. But yeah, I just want to say that. But a positive thing is that you can load some MIDI pattern inside the arpeggiator. I mean, it's so cool. It's so cool. And it's also like, it should be there on so many synths. So it's kind of a very logical feature that I appreciate a lot. Also, something I want to say is that it has a very clean sound, especially, if we compare it to DS Thorn. Something I mentioned, like it can result into like a dirty sound really quick, but Dune3 has a really clean sound. That's the way it feels when you work with it, and especially I would say even cleaner than Spire, slightly cleaner than Spire. Spire is good, but Dune3 is slightly cleaner than Spire. Now, the effects inside Dune3, they sound really good, especially if you compare them to Spire and DS Thorn. They are superior. The algorithms for compression, they sound like they nail what they go for. Like the opto, for example, really sounds like an opto compressor. But if you compare them to like the tier 1, like I don't know, face plant, pigments, even pigments, like you can stack a couple stuff. You can, it's not modular or semi-modular, but there's a flexibility which is nice. And by the way, I'm gonna do an update on tier 1 where I'm going to talk about current, because the effects inside current, it's insane. So there's not that level of flexibility, but still they sound good. And from all these three, this is the better set of effects in my opinion. Also, another plus for Dune3 in my opinion is that from these three, it seems that this one has a bit of development going on. I say a bit, I'm sure people are working hard, but like if I compare it to pigments and faceplant, it's not updated as often, but still within these three synths, it's the one, there's something going on. I feel there's something going on. And maybe I think it's still like an underground synth. It's not known that much. So I guess the more and more people that get it, it feeds the machine. So that would be really cool to see some more lively updates of Dune3. Now, in the negative, there's no macros, unless I missed them, but I don't see any macros. The wavetable editor, I talked about it. Yeah, it's like a plus and a negative as well, but yeah, I need to mention it. Also, the layering process, it's really cool. Dune3 has a lot of voicing possibilities, but this is a personal thing. Let me know in the comments if there's some Dune3 users that don't agree with what I'm about to say. But it just feels like a bit tedious to add all these layers and manage all these layers because they're not on the same. I've never been a fan of like having multiple stuff on different pages like Silent One would have. So for me, it's a bit tedious for not so much of an advantage. I think I prefer stuff streamlined, accessible, but it does sound good though, for sure. It's just like the design. I would have preferred maybe more voicing option just on one page, because sometimes it can get confusing in my opinion. But I guess it's a bit more of a modern approach, and this reminds me of a bit of it's kind of true and close to the, I'd say, a bit vintage roots that Dune3 is going for. So I can see why it's there, but still, personally, not super fan. And that's it for Dune3. Once again, they are really cool synths. If they are on the tier 2 and I talk about them, it's because I use them and will continue to use them and develop some content for these. But do I have a favorite? No. I know, like I said, DS Thorn has this glassy sound that I like. Spire has some sick, wicked acid lines that are quite easy to get good, ready out of the box from Spire. And Dune 3 has a lot of potential. I'm still discovering and diving deeper into it, and it has, yeah, it's thick. It's thick. So I like these 3 synths, but depending on what you want to get out of them, it's gonna depend. So now it's time to talk about the honorable mentions. There's 3 synths that were close to making it but didn't make the cut. First one is Anna 2. Anna 2, I bought it on Black Friday, not last Black Friday, but actually 1.5 years ago. And I don't connect with Anna 2. I can't explain why. On a sound designer level, it's like stuff is there on paper. There's like nice features. The filters are good. They're not as good as Dune 3, or I'm gonna say as Hive 2, because Hive 2 is another one from the honorable mention that didn't make the cut, but for a different reason. But yeah, Anna 2, I like, there's the sampler thing. The browser irritates me for is I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say negative things about it. I know, like, in the history of what's to come for me, I know I'm gonna retry Anna 2 eventually. But as of the moment I'm doing this video, it's not making the cut because it's not a one that I use. That was the criteria for today. So Anna 2, close but not yet there for me on the tier 2. Hive 2, for a different reason. Hive 2, like, I like the Yuhi filter. I've always been a fan of the Yuhi material. I have Diva, I like it. Actually, yeah, Diva not included in this one, but for a different reason. Diva is these ones were specific, but Diva is even more specific because it's like, it's on a different, it's gonna be for another video because it aims to emulate strictly vintage synths, so it's gonna be for different video. But Hive 2 would be more similar to that what's been discussed here, but it's expensive, and unless I know of, but I've never seen a sale. I kept my eyes on it. I was like, gonna get it eventually, and there's no sale. There's no opportunity to get it. And I'm not saying it's not worth it, but paying full price for Hive 2 while I have other really good synths, it's kind of, for me, for my habits of consumer habits, the way I buy, like, I rarely buy stuff full price. I try for opportunities, and there's no opportunities for Hive 2 unless, well, the thing is, I don't see them, and that would be also a problem. But I'd like to get it. One thing I really like, and let me know in the comments if you are similar to me for this, but I like the rent-to-own stuff also on a consumer level. It's nice. I like to grab stuff and get it on rent-to-own fashion. It's really nice. Subscription, no. Rent-to-own, yes. And the third honorable mention is, I'm gonna say Silent One, but yeah. So because the thing with Silent One, it's like, I would almost say these synths are a derivative of Silent One, not officially, but like, if you look at what Silent One brought to the table when it came out. But the thing is, like, it almost stayed the same. It's just, I'd be curious to know what the guys at Leonard Digital do, or the guy. I know very little about the company, but yes, Silent One, it was nice, but I don't use it anymore. I've used it a bit in the past, but like, for me, DS Thorn is like a Silent 2 on steroids. Dune3 is like, it's kind of taking these basic features and expanding them. So wanted to mention this one, but yeah, that's as close as it's gonna get for Silent One. Now, final topic, I want to talk about pricing real quick, because it also comes into play in comparison. And so pricing, I'd say the best bang for buck from these 3 is DS Thorn. I just went and see what the pricing looked like just to refresh my memory. But like right now, The original price on DS Thorn is $199 US, but it's right now at 59, and I think I got mine at 29 with a voucher. But that was before Plugin Alliance was sold. It's so I think it was different owner, so maybe they had like a bit of a different approach for marketing. But still, it seems to be rarely on full price. So I think you can manage to get DS Thorn on like 59 or well, actually right now it is. But yeah, you can manage to get this one on it for a decent amount of money, but a good deal. So the thing with Dune3, I had someone gave me it was not a referral code, but like there was a sale for Black Friday, but and I had like I could combine offers, so I got mine for I think something like 100 Canadian. So it was a good deal. It's still on the expensive side, I would say, but there's a lot of good features. It's a good modern synth. I think it's worth it. I think pricing wise, that the third position for sure is Spire, which is still on the expensive side, and it's not evolving a lot. So, but I think they're caught in like the pricing that it was before, and now like it would be just weird to lower it down or make some. But there's some offers. I've often seen Spire at 50%, which I think it's a sweet deal if you want to get that. And with a couple of good presets, bank, you're on your way to heaven for sure. And that's it for the pricing, and that's it for this video, I think. Let me know what you think. Is there some stuff that you disagree? Some synths that maybe should have been there but are not? Really, let me know. I'd like to discuss about these things. I like these things. I do that on a daily basis, so obviously I like to talk about synths. If you have these synths and you want some presets for these synths, don't forget to check out the Fractal Sound store. There's presets for these. If you want to learn more about mixing and mastering, sound design, synthesis, there's the Fractal Mentorships program. If you want more information on that, the link is in the description. There's currently a masterclass about faceplant. It was not mentioned today, but it's, faceplant. And it's called Faceplant Beginner to Sound Designer. It's a masterclass. It's explaining synthesis and obviously faceplant. So this is available right now in the video vault for Fractal Mentorships. Anyway, check the links in the description. And that was a lot of fun. I'm going to see you in the new video. Let me know what you want to see for tier 3. It's becoming a bit challenging because like I need to define what's tier 3. Tier 2 was like I already had that in mind, or maybe we could do like a special tier, like a very special program or like special ops synths. We'll see. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Have fun producing. Ciao.